So welcome, Brother Charlie. So now we'd like you to start your sharings on none but one.
So thank you so much, Kim. And really very, very loving greetings to all the Centawasis of Malaysia and all your family of Australia. Send you lots and lots of love and good wishes. I think even though we can't travel and see each other, it seems like our hearts have grown a lot closer over the last 18 months or so. And yeah, as Kim was saying, I'd love to share a few thoughts, and then please, I feel what's really enjoyable in these sessions is interaction, a little bit of chit chat. I think it makes it interesting. And I absolutely love the title of your retreat because to me, it really is the absolute heart of our life with Baba. And I think as Kim was sort of chatting, mentioning, I began my Brahman journey in London in 1975. And I went to meet Baba for the first time in late 75. And then I returned to London for a year, which was a very, very special year in my journey because the center was so small and we had three sisters in the center, Daddy Janki, Sister Sudesh, and Sister Genti. So it was a very powerful atmosphere and only a few students. And we began a singing group. And believe it or not, I was a part of that group. And the group had the name Beyond Sound. Do you like that as a name for a singing group? And we used to sing songs, and there was one song which Daddy loved, which he always wanted us to sing. And that was Mera To Ek Shiv Baba Dusara Koi, which means mine is one Shiv Baba and none other. And quite honestly, up until maybe a few years ago, often when Daddy would see me, she would get me to sing that song. And I don't sing very well. But actually, after all these years in my Brahman life, I think of all the points from the ocean of knowledge, all the truth, the unadulterated truth we hear, the most powerful point of truth, the truth that really completely transforms me, completely heals me, completely purifies me, is this point, none but one. And ultimately, Raj Yoga is all relationships with one Shiv Baba. And I actually remember early on in my Brahman life, Daddy Janki was saying, don't worry if no one loves you, Shiv Baba loves you. And I can remember thinking, well, I'm not sure I can really manage that quite yet. You know, we might intellectually believe it. But I feel over all these years that has become a reality. And I remember a group of us was sitting with Daddy Prakashmani, and all last week, I think the whole world's been remembering the enormous specialties of Daddy-ji. And we asked Daddy-ji, why did Baba make you the main instrument? And you know her first words, her first answer? Because right from the beginning, I had none but one. And you know, my observation of the main instruments, the daddies and the seniors, is that they all have this sanskara. And a lot of them may not have all the qualities or all the virtues or all the administrative skills. But I think it's this one sanskara that really wins Baba's heart and wins Baba's trust. Because I really believe that Baba begins to feel that he can put the soul anywhere and he's the main influence on the soul. And at this time, I don't know what your experience is, but my experience of meeting the family in many places is that there's a real wish to move forward spiritually. Like I don't remember for a long time, a deep thing in the heart to really take a high jump, to really move forward. And to me, it's not about making effort. It's about making the right effort. And to me, the right effort is really this main thing, to have all relationships with one. Because a subtle thing begins to happen that it's like it emerges my original nature and my original purity. It sort of draws it out of the soul because it's sitting latent in the soul. And to me, this effort is not just the right effort, it's actually natural effort because, you know, it's just easy and natural. When I fall in love with one and I really have all relationships with one, it's the natural way to move along in this life rather than that sort of heavy effort making, that forced feeling, you know, where we really feel it's all just hard work. But actually, how does this sanskara work of really none but one? And in a way, every single day, Baba reminds us of this. Children, it's almost like children, you began the cycle, you've had relationships for 83 births. The way that you will really heal and grow is to have all relationships with me now. And you know, when we step into this Brahman life, all of us have so many grades and levels of impurity. You know, we've all had 2,500 years of body conscious actions. And why God says to us, you know, you are such, you know, the soul has become so impure, so weak because of that. And then we begin to think, how can I really emerge deep purity that's been so pushed down and suppressed by all the body conscious actions of half a cycle? And I feel, you know, celibacy is just the first little step. And probably the main thing that really draws out the purity, draws back the power, draws back the strength, is when the soul really develops, you know, a loving relationship with the one who's incorporeal, egoless, and viceless. If I have a relationship with that one who's incorporeal, egoless, and viceless, what do I become? I become the same. And so what happens is that when I become like Baba in that way, I really emerge my own incorporeal nature, egoless, viceless nature. Naturally, I draw out my self-respect. Naturally, I draw out my purity. Naturally, I draw out loving character, loving nature. It will automatically re-emerge. But on the other side of the coin, and really my observation is that Baba's children, when we come, why are we here? Why are all of us living in centers? Because we've dedicated, we've recognized God. We've dedicated our life. This is our prime aim in our life. I love Baba. I have faith in Baba. I follow Baba's Srimat. But sometimes I also keep, shall I say, dependent human relationships. They may not be gross, but they're subtle. And what I've really been realizing is that, what is Baba saying? Baba's saying, children, keep the subtle thread of the intellect with one. And I do. But then I also keep the subtle thread with some lokik or alokik relations. And a very deep thing happens is each time I reconnect with a bodily being, with just even a little bit of need, a little bit of desire, wanting a little bit of support, what happens? I give power back to my impurity. I strengthen my body consciousness. I give life back to my old story, my old self. So what's happening? On the one hand, I'm trying to remember Baba to become pure. And on the other hand, I'm remembering human beings, whether it's positive because I have a little bit of attraction, or negative because I'm frustrated and upset with them. So that yoga keeps giving power back to my impurity. And I really believe the reason why a lot of us don't feel we're really moving forward in this life is because it's sort of 2 steps forward with Baba, 1 step back. We hold on to these relationships. Do you remember just a few days ago what Baba said? Something so interesting. Baba said some sisters sometimes, and brothers too, are caught in the name and form of other sisters or other brothers. Do you remember that? And often I think we're a little bit naive or a little bit innocent, that we're on the one hand, my Baba, but on the other hand, the habit of dependent relationships, wanting support, wanting a special friend to just speak to and download my feelings or how I'm feeling about what's going on in the Yagya or the Brahmin family or whatever. When I do that, it's like, you know, on the one hand, I'm trying to remember Baba and become pure. On the other hand, I'm reinforcing my impurity. And this is one of the reasons why we don't really move forward. And I remember one muli which had a huge impact on me. And that was a muli about purity. And in that muli, Baba said, the reason you are defeated in purity is because you become impressed by someone's nature, someone's personality, someone's virtues, someone's qualities. Then Baba said, to be impressed is to be deceived, and to be deceived is to take sorrow. And you know, it's such a fine line, isn't it, between being impressed and appreciating. And yet what happens is that, why is it like this? Because Baba said, getting impressed is a subtle form of lust. Now, a lot of us feel, well, maybe lust isn't such a big problem. But actually the subtle form is taking me away from none but one. Because the habit is I get impressed by somebody and I think I like this one, I like their virtues, I like the way they give knowledge, they give me love, they cooperate with me, etc. What happens? Subtly, Baba goes out of the picture and this person. So I start taking support from a temporary relationship rather than Shiv Baba. Now, the reality is this will happen because our habit of dependence, our habit of being affected, our habit of being influenced by others is such an incredibly deep habit. But really, I think if we have the courage and the honesty to look deeply, where am I still just subtly dependent on even the sisters or brothers I live with? Or maybe still a parent or a whatever, a partner. Actually, it doesn't allow me to fully experience the power of none but one. And you know, sometimes when I think of the cycle, when I think of purity, purity is impenetrable. Nothing can influence purity. In the Golden Age, we had absolute purity. Nothing could affect us, nothing could influence us. And then we come to the Copper Age and we begin to desire. And the law says, whatever I desire will influence me. I desire you to support me, desire you to love me, desire you to cooperate with me. It begins a little bit innocent. By the end of the cycle, every single thing influences me. So the one who was impenetrable in purity is lost all my purity. Impurity means it's all about influence. I'm influenced by everything and everyone. And then we step into the confluence age. And what is Baba's method to heal all these influences? Baba's method is none but one. Put myself under the canopy of one. Put myself under the directions with one. Just have one in my heart. And what does that mean? It actually means that I really am sustained by one, but I have love for absolutely everybody. And really my observation of the Brahmins who really move forward in this life, the Brahmins who really grow into that elevated stage, the Brahmins who really have a sort of an angelic vibration, all of them have one sanskara, and that is none but one. And I really do feel that this is the way to move forward. And if I reflect on my journey, you know, I often mention that when I started, it was 1975. Many people thought that there would be destruction in 1976. So I thought I had, you know, a few months to become a teacher, and I thought, no problem. Well, I'm still going after 46 years. And yet I would say, compared when I started, how I suppose affected I was by others' behaviors, others' attitudes, others' opinions of me, etc. And where I am now, it's a huge change. There's absolutely a huge change. But I really do realize that this whole life depends on the quality of my relationship with Baba. And recently, you know, I think sometimes I wonder whether we're in love with the concept that Baba's the ocean of love, or whether I really taste it. I really feel it. And recently I've been thinking about Brahma Baba and his relationship, because he recognized God and he dropped everything. He let go family, a business, a reputation, everything, because his absolute love for one. And, you know, just imagine that personality, that soul was coming into his body. He was really exploring the personality, the character. He absolutely was enjoying the presence and personality of Shiv Baba. And honestly, this is our quest in this life. If Shiv Baba is still just a point on the wall, more a belief, it's not really going to touch my heart. It's not really going to grab me. I have to feel in that point the beauty, the attraction, the purity, the love, the personality, the innocence. In a way, I have to educate myself how to fall in love. For half a cycle, I've had the sanskara to fall in love with bodily beings. And look where it led me. Now I have to really develop a sanskara, educate myself how to fall in love with a bodiless being. But such a real living personality. And this is really our quest. And the more I thought of Brahma Baba and how real he was experiencing Shiv Baba's presence, we can feel that too. And how that the whole personality of Shiv Baba became so real, because you can only love someone who's lovable. I can't love a concept or a belief. I have to explore how attractive Baba is. My experience is when the heart full really recognizes Shiv Baba, then that's a huge power that takes me beyond. And this is in a way our quest. It's really our quest to really experience how lovable Baba is. And when I have attainment, I have a natural attraction to one. If I'm forcing myself, I believe Gyan, I have faith in it, I believe it, I believe the Srimad, but I'm sort of, it's not really from the heart. It doesn't have the power. When I fall in love with one, that has an enormous power that takes me beyond absolutely everything. And you know, what is the sign of spiritual fullness? What's the sign of a soul that's really full? They'll be very, very, very detached. Why? Because when you really fall in love so deeply with God, with one, you're so pulled into Baba's world, you become naturally detached. It's not that I'm sitting down thinking I must be detached, I must be detached, I mustn't be influenced, I mustn't be influenced. It's a natural consequence, actually. And when I'm so close to Baba, I become naturally uninfluenced by people, opinions, behaviors, attitudes, whether positive or negative. And still, I think so many of us are still stuck in the gravity of human opinion. Some like me, some don't like me, some accept me, some reject me, some cooperate with me, some don't. My head's all caught in that space. But really, this is the time to actually look through my third eye and see one, be with one, remember one, and automatically I go beyond influence. I become naturally detached. You know, detachment is the sign of the soul that has none but one, complete detachment. Look at the daddies. How much loving were they? They were present with all of us, but completely detached. I saw it so many times. And, you know, I realized that detachment is my natural sanskara. Actually, it's my natural sanskara in the golden age. You know, you live with each other, you're close to each other, someone leaves the body, you don't remember them. Why? Because we're full, we don't need anything, we don't need anyone. And when we actually come to, you know, the Copper Age, with this habit of looking outside myself for support develops. What is attachment? Because it's this sanskara that keeps pulling me away from my relationship with Shiv Baba. Attachment is identifying or taking support from anything temporary. Temporary relationship, temporary cooperation, temporary love, all human relationships are temporary. And when I have attachment, it has two powerful children, fear and insecurity. The more dependent, the more fear. If you wonder why you have a lot of fear, it's because of attachment. What is detachment? Detachment is identifying and taking support from that which is permanent. And this is the life where I shift, this massive shift of the heart from everything temporary to that one permanent relationship with Shiv Baba. I look through my third eye, I see Baba, I touch Baba with my divine intellect, I download all of Baba's beauty. And the more I do that, the more I'm just naturally, it's a natural thing. The more it's natural that I remember Baba, it's something which is really powerful. Because I believe that as we come into the confluence age now, the whole method of Raja Yoga is all relationships with one, none but one. I become naturally detached from everyone, and then I can serve them. I can give them everything. I can become God's instrument to really serve those around me. And over the last year and a half, my whole focus has really been this: to have numbered one and absolutely step onto the pilgrimage of remembrance. Because we step into the confluence age, and Baba says, children, this is the pilgrimage back to one. The highest pilgrimage, the greatest pilgrimage. It's the pilgrimage that takes me to a place of true love, a place of true purity, a place of true power. And this is the greatest pilgrimage. And I've been really seeing, I've been a Brahmin for a long time. Am I really on this pilgrimage home to one? Because we're seeing the signs in our world that everything's collapsing. Have I done the spiritual work in this life? And this pilgrimage is the most amazing pilgrimage. Because sometimes it winds, you know, we get caught up in side scenes. Sometimes it's very steep, it's hard work. Sometimes it's like you're going downhill, it's not so bad. Sometimes you reach such a big obstacle on this pilgrimage of the intellect, the subtle thread keeping it with one, when there's so many distractions and influences. This is my focus. Sometimes huge obstacles come. And I think, can I really go on? Do I have the enthusiasm? Well, sometimes there's a fork in the road, which way to take. Sometimes there's amazing beauty. I'm just in love with one, and I experience bliss and joy that takes me into the sweetest place of all. And sometimes there's incredible tiredness. This is the greatest pilgrimage. And in the Sakkhamulis, what does Baba say? Children, this is the final pilgrimage. Children, this is the pilgrimage to the last moment of your life. Children, this is the final pilgrimage of the land of death. This is the pilgrimage to the land of liberation and the land of liberation in life, where you're not going to return. We are not going to come back. This is the pilgrimage where, because of love for one, I let go everything. Not just my possessions, my relationships, even all the subtle supports of my ego that have propped me up, even within the Brahman life, based on my role and my responsibilities. It's the amazing pilgrimage. And you know, I've been asking myself, what sustains me in this life? What really sustains me in this life? Am I sustained by faith, mainly? If so, that's that more I'm a devotee. I have a devotee intellect. But faith is powerful. Faith is great, of course. Am I mainly sustained by gyan, by knowledge? I'm a gyani intellect, which is wonderful. But sometimes a gyani intellect sits in meditation and just thinks. I think about Baba. I think about Baba's qualities. I'm not really in union, in loving connection. Or am I mainly sustained by service? I call it the doing intellect. You know, the intellect, for half the cycle, we've been sustained by doing an action and getting a temporary reward. Praise, respect, love, power, position, wealth. That is such a powerful experience within us, the doing intellect. Or am I sustained by the Brahman family, the householder intellect? I'm really here because I just love the atmosphere of the divine family. Or am I mainly sustained by Shiv Baba, the yogi intellect? And really, am I on this pilgrimage? Am I really on the pilgrimage to the highest place of a union with God? Or am I just climbed a little bit up the mountain? I'm sustained by faith, the devotee intellect. I'm sustained just by knowledge, the Gyani intellect. I'm sustained by doing, because of service, the doing intellect. I'm sustained by the family. Yes, they're all okay. But ultimately, this life is the pilgrimage to a quality of love that we will not experience anywhere else, a purity of love that is only available at this time. Sometimes I think, Baba says in the Gita, out of millions, only a few recognize me. And out of those few, only a handful understand me as I truly am. Where that handful? Have I recognized Baba that deeply? Have I recognized his love? Am I just believing in that love, or am I engaged, feeling it? Because when I really feel it, I will be automatically on that pilgrimage. My heart is drawn. The law of life says, wherever the heart goes, the mind will follow. So when your heart recognizes Baba so deeply, and Baba's love and Baba's beauty, the mind is following. And it's like a natural form of concentration. And this pilgrimage, really, I've been practicing during this COVID, reminding myself constantly, am I on this pilgrimage? Am I really just here more as that devotee or whatever? Or am I really on the pilgrimage to one, none but one? And who is on the pilgrimage? It's my intellect, actually. And my observation, the intellect is constantly traveling. Have you noticed that? Every second, the little intellect sitting here, the subtle thread of the intellect will travel and connect. The amazing thing about this intellect is it's beyond time and space. You can travel back in the past. You can travel to Madhuban, London, Australia, anywhere, instantly. And what happens? What happens when I travel? 3 things. And this is what I've been observing. You connect instantly. It's beyond time. As soon as you connect, you are influenced. You are influenced by what you connect with. And then you have a feeling, you have an experience. The nature of the intellect, this constantly traveling intellect, why does it travel? It's searching, it's seeking truth and love. So it can travel to Baba, taste Baba in a split second. It can have a gross thought and travel and connect. So I can be high, and in a split second, I can go into a low stage. This is the incredible nature of the intellect. And I've really been observing how I've sat in meditation. I sit in meditation and I have such a pure thought. Baba, I'm coming to you. And I do, I go. And then even seconds later, I find myself somewhere else. I'm almost unconsciously, I've connected. It may be with service thing, it may be with a situation, whatever. And it's not even negative. It's just the traveling intellect connects to something else. This is the highest pilgrimage to one. This is why to really master this subtle intellect. And really, what does Baba do? So we can reach the highest place, to have none but one. Baba fills the intellect with truth. The intellect is a vessel. The more truth, the more power. So the intellect's not pulled or pushed by sanskaras, past karmic accounts. It has power in it to resist the pull of the stories, the accounts, the attractions, the repulsions, this sort of thing. But if the intellect is weak, it just comes under the influence of its old story. And so really, to begin the journey of the intellect to one and one alone, I have to fill the intellect with total truth. God's entire truth has to sit cleanly in my intellect. And if I have in my intellect manmat, what I feel and the influence of others, it pollutes that truth. And in a way, the Tamo Pradhan intellect is absolutely caught in the household of name and form and bodies. Look at our world now. People are so pulled by name and form and shape and color, attractions. That is the sign of a Tamo Pradhan intellect. That's where the intellect connects. What is a Tamo intellect? The intellect's constantly going to relationships. Why? Because in the back of my mind, the habit of half a cycle is they will give me love. They will give me some support. They will give me something. Even as BKs, we still have this habit that I don't have enough truth in my intellect, that the intellect keeps going to the household of human relationships. And the more I go in that household, I can't really go to one. Or what's even the Rajo intellect? It's sometimes with Baba, sometimes with the household of relationships. It fluctuates. It's sometimes with God and sometimes with people. What is the Sato intellect? The Sato intellect is an elevated intellect, but it's more caught in the household of service. Now, this is God's work. It's important work. And Baba encourages to do service, but Baba says the Sato Pradhan intellect is absolutely connecting to one. And in a way, this is the highest pilgrimage. This is what our life is ultimately about. And I've been, quite frankly, asking myself a lot in this 18 months, am I really on this pilgrimage? Or am I really just being sustained more by the other things, faith, the family, service, etc. And really, because when I sit and meditate and the subtle thread connects with Baba, it's like you connect with one, you download Baba into your mind, and your mind becomes just so full of that beauty of God. Nothing like it. But I've been asking, which pilgrimage am I on, really? Because there's many pilgrimages of the intellect. One is what I call the pilgrimage of distraction. And I believe this is the pilgrimage where the soul is pulled by the sense organs, our habit of 63 births. So what I see, I think, think, think. What I hear, I think, think, think. Actually, the senses are still dominating. And this is really the distractions of the external world. I'm pulled by people and their opinions and what they say. Look at our world now. Gosh, everyone's got such strong opinions about everything. So am I on that pilgrimage where my mind is still external? You know why you sit and meditate and your mind, you want to go to Baba and your mind jumps outside? Because the myth that we've believed in for half a cycle is that peace, love, and happiness is outside. And that's why you sit to remember Baba, remember one, and you're just pulled outside. Because this is a deeply ingrained falsehood or myth that we've been brought up, that people will give me love, that wealth will give me peace, that success will give me happiness, this sort of thing. Hence, the mind just keeps going outside, outside, becoming extrovert. Or am I on the pilgrimage of karmic accounts? So my intellect, that's the second. The first pilgrimage, the pilgrimage of so many distractions in life, pulled by all the sense organs. The second, the pilgrimage of karmic accounts, my karmas, the stories, all the stories of what's happened, what's going on, what people have done. So my intellect, I want to go to Baba, but I'm just pulled to all the stories and all the feelings that I carry inside. And when I go on this pilgrimage, usually it leads to sadness and hurt and feeling a victim. And I believe it's real. Or even another pilgrimage that can easily distract me to is the pilgrimage of doing. As I was saying, I've been, I think a lot of us come to Baba and we really we love service, and Baba encourages. It's a great thing to do, but Baba's way is remember him, then serve. But often we do is first serve because our habit, our addiction of half the cycle is to do an action to get a temporary reward, to get a temporary hit, to get a temporary feeling. And so we do the action and someone praises or there's success or something, and I'm really happy. But if my desire isn't fulfilled, I'm disappointed, I'm hurt, I feel angry or upset. And this is why, all these pilgrimages, the pilgrimage of distraction, the pilgrimage of karmic accounts pulling me, the pilgrimage of doing, or the pilgrimage of remembrance, which is ultimately the highest point I can reach, where my intellect looks through the third eye, I see Shiv Baba, I connect with Shiv Baba, I'm influenced by Shiv Baba, I experience everything of Shiv Baba, I download all that divine feeling into the core of my being. I'm sustained by one. This is really the highest pilgrimage. What keeps me on this pilgrimage? What makes me go on this pilgrimage knowing I'm not going to return to the world of remembering human beings? It's actually attainment. When you experience, when you attain the feelings of love, of belonging, of happiness, of joy, all this attainment, and what it means is that I am naturally pulled to one. And that's, to me, the main thing, is that once I attain from Baba, I understand how lovable Baba is. The attraction to Baba is much greater than the pull to anything else. Because if I have this one sanskara, the pilgrimage to one, I believe there will be total transformation and purification in the human soul. And really, this life really genuinely is all relationships with God. That is Raja Yoga that really works. And if I really do this, I taste the highest. And what I've been doing, I've been really observing myself on the pilgrimage for the last 18 months. And I have a feeling, seeing the way the world is, I'm losing interest in it. Are you finding it really losing? It's just, and the more it's going in its way, you're just losing interest completely. But what I've really realized is the fickle intellect will go on all these pilgrimages, these short-term pilgrimages. I'm distracted, pulled by karmic accounts, pulled by people, pulled by service, pulled by this. How do I really keep being pulled to one? Actually, I think first is I have to make that a deep priority in my life. I've got to really check my heart. Is the ultimate number one priority to be with one and connect with one? Because when this is the sort of the foundation of me as a person, it's always there. It's always top of mind. But secondly, I'm really realizing the power of paying attention. Actually, effort is paying attention. Once Daddy Janki said, in between Gyan and yoga is attention. And really, what is that? It's just a loving observation of where my intellect connects. And in a way, we even listened to Brahma Baba as he was eating. He would say, I'm eating, I remember Baba, and suddenly I forget. This is the attention of a true effort maker. That I'm just watching, and when the thread of my intellect connects to a person, connects to a situation, connects to this, connects with love and wisdom, I refocus it to one. And it's like I build a habit. I build a habit to remember one. And I really love that, because I think that what I've observed is that, you know, we're karma yogis, we have responsibilities. And so we're in a meeting, we're on the phone, we're in a webinar like this, we're engaged. But when it finishes, where does the thread of my intellect go? Often it will reflect on what was said, what was done, what I have to do. And you know, if all those drops, I keep reminding myself, paying attention, go to Baba, go to Baba, go to Baba. As I, finish a meeting and I walk down the passage, as I drive somewhere, all those moments build an ocean of time with one. And this is when I absolutely, genuinely feel I'm getting powerful. I'm not just living a life, I live a pure life, it's a good life. But I'm really feeling I'm transforming, I'm becoming powerful because I'm building up the ocean of remembrance. I'm on the pilgrimage. And as I go on the pilgrimage, I'm leaving the dependent human relationships. I'm leaving the need for a special friend. I'm leaving all the subtle supports that take me away from the ultimate destiny in this life. Because really what we want to do when we leave this body is just fly to one with no pull or no influence. And there's no doubt, all of us have dependent nature. And, my feeling is that you can't really conquer attachment. You can only replace it. I've seen people sort of think, oh, I'm going to conquer attachment. But they try to let go rather than sort of really building a relationship with Baba. They work more on letting go. And they go right back into dependent relationships. What I find, the stronger your relationship with Baba, all the dependent feelings, relationships just naturally begin to leave me. And to me, this is really the way Baba wants it. And really, I think it's the time to really establish myself on the pilgrimage to one. And what I've been doing during the day is, if you sort of end up at the end of the day and you think, oh, how much did I remember Baba? And you know how sometimes when that happens, you think, not much. You go to fill in your chart, really, Baba, not much. Yes, I was doing service. Yes, I was teaching the course. Yes, I did this and that. That's all good. But really, how much was my intellect on the true pilgrimage? Not much. So what I've been doing is taking achievable steps. And that really means that when the Muli finishes, and I've got 15 minutes, I do things until I sit for breakfast. In those 15 minutes, pay attention to the thread of my intellect to be on the pilgrimage to one. And then when I sit to breakfast, then that 20 minutes, I pay attention. So, and then as I go into the office, after breakfast. So I'm just doing these little chunks of time and setting myself a little goal, these little short goals. Actually, you know what it is all about? it's creating such a deep sanskara of attention that whenever your mind wanders, it's almost like a little red light goes off inside and you take it back. And I've really realized that's what Brahma Baba, he created such a deep habit of attention to keep the thread with one. And that's what I'm trying to do. Really be on the pilgrimage, really go beyond, really remember one, because that is the highest point of this highest life in this highest age, is the absorption in the ocean of love and feeling absolutely in love. And you know, we've been remembering Daddy Ji this last week. She was a natural yogi. I really felt she was in love with one, and all the inculcation, all the dharana she had just came from that relationship. And as she said, you know, the reason Baba appointed me was because of I had that sanskara right from the beginning, none but one. It takes courage. And yet, really, it's the place where you'll enjoy this life most of all. And when we're in that stage of numbered one, our vibrations are so elevated. Our vibrations uplift a room. Our vibrations uplift company. Our vibrations are doing the service automatically. What did the daddies do? Just their vibration. The ultimate state of purity is to have none but one. I'm under the influence of one, and that vibration does its own magic, does its own work. Yes, it's a high destination, there's no doubt, but that's the priority in our life. And I find that if we just keep staying on the pilgrimage, that's my effort at the moment, just to constantly, even as I speak now, just trying to remind myself what's really important is to keep the thread in the right place. And if the thread goes to other places where it will, bring it back to Shiv Baba. So I think I'm going to put a pause button on myself after that. And as Kim was saying, that if anyone wants to ask something, and it's nice just to have a bit of interaction, happy just to chat, have questions, share experiences, whatever, because it's just a family feeling. It's nice just to have that easy, natural, open family discussion.
Thank you, Brother Charlie, for your rich sharing.
Oh, Helen. Hi, Helen.
Yeah. As I was listening to you, your 46 years, I just had this vision in my mind that you have cut through the jungle, you know? In the beginning, it was a thick jungle, and you cut through, and now you've gone through after 46 years, and you're right up to the top, you know? So what is no doubt you have said a lot of tips for us, you know? What would be a simple thing, because, you know, you have done a long journey, but for most of us, we are just like, you know, starting. And what would be the shortcut? We all want the shortcut to get there, to get there.
Well, you know, I mean, we're all on the journey, and ultimately, you know, I honestly, I can say from my heart, there's been huge transformation, but there's still more to go. You know, definitely there's a bit of jungle that needs addressing, without a doubt. But, you know, Helen, I really do feel that this sanskara is the shortcut, because dependent human relationships make me weak. And to be really frank, I can believe in Baba, I can't have a link with Baba. My subtle mental threads with human beings and behaviors and so on. And this is the courage really to, and how can I really have all relationships with one? I have to really, as I was saying, research the beauty of Baba, because when the heart absolutely connects, that no one is more attractive than Baba, you know, but we have to really taste that, because we don't see Baba through the sense organs like we do human beings. And when we see a virtuous human being, it shines through their face and their eyes and their behavior. And yet Baba is eternally pure. There's no one as attractive. And I think we really have to, the shortcut is, I would say, understanding, experiencing the attractiveness of Baba, that no one is as attractive to my heart. No one will fill me with attainment like Baba. That's the quest. That's the real quest, because then it's natural. I'm naturally on the pilgrimage. I'm in love naturally. I'm not forcing, pushing, feeling I should remember, but I'm not, you know? I should, I must, I have to. That language is devotee language. And that's why I was sort of using Brahma Baba, because I think he had family, business, he had the whole bit, very entrenched in the Lokik world, really. And once his third eye saw Shiv Baba, felt that love, recognized and kept that company, that sanskar of none but one took him beyond every imaginable obstacle. He was defamed, he was criticized. I remember the story that even his own brother came and said, "You're destroying the reputation of our family." And he was the most respected person. And yet he didn't let any of this take him away from that. So it's, I would say the shortcut is really discovering how lovable, attractive Shiv Baba is compared to all other souls. That's really our self-education, our self-learning. And then it's a natural remembrance.
Yeah, and the other thing I would really like you to expand on is, you said fall in love, okay? Because even in the Lokik world, people say, yes, I love you, and you know, generally you love. But there is a difference in falling in love. So what is the mechanism there, even on the spiritual level? You know, otherwise it's a superficial thing, isn't it? Right? As you say, it could be a devotee intellect and all these things, but what is that real mechanism there?
You know, Helen, one of the sisters here, she did a research into all the Avyaktamolis. And you know that the number one subject God talks about is love. Because I think when the heart is full of love, you feel completely content. You don't need anything. You feel that's, what more do you really need? And once Baba said, true love is loving that which always exists. We have the addiction of loving temporary things, temporary relationships, temporary bodies, temporary this, temporary that. And then we build up all this fear of losing. And so we become so dependent. And this is this huge transformation. Baba's educating us now how to love accurately. And accurate love means transforming my love from temporary to permanent, from physical to spiritual, from love based on, you know, the temporary nature of things, love based on emotion, to love based on truth. You know, love based on emotion is that love that loves you 1 minute and doesn't love you the next minute. You know, that very fickle human love of today. Love based on truth. We know how Baba says a loving intellect. You know the beauty of someone, and even if their mood's up and down here and there, you maintain your love. And, you know, from dependent love to pure love. So we're in this transition of being re-educated by God himself. What is accurate love? And yet still, because we've tasted impure love for so long, this temporary love of human love, because we know it, we keep going back in that direction. And that's where we have to be deep enough to really explore this permanent love, you know, this spiritual love, this love based on truth rather than emotion, and this pure love rather than dependent love. It's a huge transformation. There's absolutely no doubt. And this is the change we're going through now. And that's why God, more than anything, encourages us to have relationship. Belief, you know, belief will give me some power, but not much. But when my intellect recognizes Baba, a little bit of power. When my heart recognizes Baba, heaps of power. And I have to recognize God through my heart. There is no one more attractive, no one more lovable, no one sweeter, no one who will be kinder and more understanding and benevolent to me. And unless I taste it, my intellect will keep going back to the habitual places of temporary love. But this is our journey, to move from this, to re-educate myself. What is true love? It's a big journey.
Yeah, relating to this also, a question is like, I can say I'm not pulled by any physical relationships. Do I need to develop all relationships with Baba? And the other one is how to develop that relationship with the Satguru.
That's an interesting one. Maybe the second one. I always remember Sister Mahini saying, you know, Baba talks about three main relationships, doesn't he? And, you know, in my head, I don't think of them as father, teacher, and Satguru, but you do feel them, because for spiritual progress, you need those three relationships. Because from the father and mother, there's love. It's love that opens our heart. It's love that gives us courage to step into this life. It's love that gives us courage to live a pure life. But for spiritual progress, love isn't enough. I need learning. So I develop a relationship with the teacher, and I really engage with the learning. But actually, love and learning aren't enough. I need guidance. And that's the relationship with the Satguru. He takes my hand, he takes me along the path. He gives me the directions so that I don't fall down, keep falling down. He's the one who's guiding me from an impure soul to a pure soul. But what's really interesting, some Brahmins I've observed absolutely recognize Baba as mother and father, love Baba, but don't really recognize the teacher, so they don't value the study that much. Yeah, I read the Morley sometimes and I feel like it, you know. Or some maybe really value the relationship with Baba and the love and the learning, but don't really value the guidance, the directions from the Satguru. They choose which ones I'll follow. And so when I really recognize the Satguru, I recognize that Srimat is not rules and regulations. I never think of it like that. Srimat is a deep code of truth that's going to heal the soul. And if I live Srimat, that's going to heal the soul. And really, if I follow Srimat, it can help my intellect stay with one. So in some ways, that relationship with the Satguru can be the most important, because it's the Satguru that's going to help me, guide me over all the obstacles, all the sanskaras, my own sanskaras, the sanskaras of others, if I follow his. And to me, Srimat is not really waking up for Amrit Vela and listening to the Morley. Yes, of course. But that's the real Srimat, is like relationship Srimat. Have good wishes for everyone. Give respect to everyone. You know, see everyone's virtues. This is the real Srimat that absolutely changes the soul, or consciousness Srimat. And that is have none but one Baba. This is the Srimat that will take the soul to the highest destination. That's why when I really recognize the Father's love, the teacher's learning, and the Satguru's guidance, then I'm on the journey to the highest point. And now I've forgotten the first part of the question.
Do we need to develop all relationships with Baba? And I think partly you have covered that. Yeah.
But to be honest, Helen, I never think, oh, I'm now remembering Baba as my brother or sister or husband or wife or teacher. Baba is Baba, but all the needs in life are fulfilled by one, basically. And that's the thing, I have to move beyond the theoretical belief into the experience. That's the journey. That's the self-learning. That's where we really have to make Baba so real in my life, not just a belief. The bhakti sanskaras to belief, the jnani sanskaras to experience.
What do you think, especially now, there are people who are actually very attached to their pets. It's quite an attachment for some people, there's even a bigger attachment to break sometimes. Doesn't that distract them?
It does, definitely. A lot of people get so confused about this attachment thing, even old Brahmins, quite honestly. Why? Because I think we still see attachment as cutting off, disconnecting, becoming aloof. And actually some Brahmins do become like that, but that's not Baba's detachment. Baba's detachment is to be very loving, very sweet, very close, communicating, but uninfluenced by. Look at Baba. I often feel, who is the most detached and loving of all? It's Baba. He's the most loving and he's the most detached. Actually, to be truly loving, you have to be detached. And that's where we can really give love to people. We can really give love to pets. It's all okay. We are karma yogis. We are in the household. It's just when I become dependent, I need you for some support, that's when it actually makes me weak. And once Baba said, how can you tell if you have an attachment? If you have a problem, you have a big challenge, where does your mind first go? Does it go to Baba, or do you think, oh, of talking, I'll take support from this person? Or where does your mind go if you have a really big problem? It's interesting, because if it goes to a human being, it's sort of showing me still where the threads of my dependency are. Or even, we lost all our power, and attachment was natural till we came to Baba. Dependent on people, even on pets for company. So we should love them, we can enjoy them, but not dependent. In the golden age, animals are everywhere, people are everywhere. We are the embodiment of love and closeness, but we're not dependent. We can do it. We can do it. How do I do it? If a relationship with Baba. Like I said, I don't think you can just give up attachment. There'll be a void. You replace it. The more you come close to Baba, automatically you let go dependence. And actually it improves your relationships with everybody. Quite frankly, the more you detach from people, the more they will love you. There's a spiritual law.
Thank you. So our ancestor souls, all the daddies and all that, even in their community culture, the family is very close and everything, yet they, they can so quickly let go, or yeah, is it because of their sanskaras, or because what is it that made them so easily able to just be with one? And is there any kind of as you are feeling the pulse of Brahmins all around the world, is there any influence of sanskaras or community or culture or whatever that is strong, that is difficult in that way?
Definitely, but culture is a very interesting thing, because I've seen a lot of people come to Baba overnight. They can let go a religion that they grew up in. The Christian religion, the Muslim religion, the Buddhist religion, even the Hindu religion, they can let it go. But culture is a whole framework of perception, how you look through a filter and understand life. And there was a book written by a Harvard professor maybe 30 years ago called Clash of Civilizations. And I read part of it a long time ago, because what he was really saying is that in the old world, no one really traveled much. So the Indians lived in India, the Chinese in China, the Europeans in Europe, etc. But now everyone's mixing together. And he was saying that when each culture looks through its cultural values, often the other seems less educated or less civilized according to their value system. So a lot of cultures develop this cultural superiority. In fact, most cultures do. Almost all cultures have a cultural superiority. That's what we just call body consciousness. You're brought up with all these messages, the subtle messages sometimes that this culture or this religion is better. And then look at the conflict based on all of this. I absolutely love the way Baba strips all of that away. Actually, children, your souls. The religion is of the body, and even the culture is of the body of this life. And I absolutely really love that. And that's where really Baba often used to say, we have a Brahmin culture. And in a way, the Brahmin culture is the seed culture of the Golden Age. We are learning a whole culture that will underpin the behaviors and values of the future society. So what we're practicing now based on Srimat is the framework for our future society. So we're sort of creating a soul conscious culture, because all body conscious cultures have sort of their seeds in ego, both of superiority, ego of superiority, and ego of inferiority. And Helen, once again, I've forgotten the first part of the question. My memory is failing me tonight.
No, we have so many of the daddies,
Yeah.
They are really from such strong family type communities and everything. And yet, it's like in 1 second, they are just able to be lost in one, What is it? Is it because of the purity of their sanskars and that kind of thing?
Yes. But the real history, and I think we've got to be honest, there's many who came and left because they didn't have, and what were they mainly pulled by? Relationships, pulled by family. You know the stories, even Daddy Janki's sister, she was one who got involved in that group with Piyu. Piyu was the young sister who became an instrument for Shiv Baba. And that story at one point, and Brahma Baba gave her a lot of respect, but she wanted a lot of respect and regard, and it was Maya in a way, and she pulled away, and she pulled away Daddy Janki's sister. So not all of them really, but those souls who are playing the part really we've all got an eternal part, and latent in the daddies is really the original rulers of the world. And in a way, once they recognized one, and because they based their whole heart on one, they went to the highest place. And if you look at them all, that's why this is the most powerful sanskara in this life. Because we were remembering, Didi Ji in July, and she had none but one, without a doubt. She was such a yogi. Daddy Ji, we've just remembered, she was the same. And I think when that seed is in the sanskaras, you'll just keep growing, just keep progressing, just keep moving forward. But it's like a catch-22. The catch-22 is the more you love Baba, the more you will naturally become detached. But if you become caught up in your attachments, you can't come close to Baba. You know what I mean? So it's like the quest is to keep exploring Baba and fall in love with Baba. And it really comes from deep recognition. Have I really recognized that this is God? This is the Supreme Soul. This is the truth. Because I think sometimes we subtly go to sleep. Even as Paka Brahmins, we sort of fall half asleep. We're in this life, but we're just, treading water. We live in our comfort zones a lot of the time. I think we surround ourselves with, if things are challenging, we design life not to challenge myself, because challenges are difficult. And so we become very comfortable and a bit easy. And I have that love and faith, but not that real on the pilgrimage to really experience one. And that's what I think in these remaining years, that's what I think we want and Baba wants us to do.
So, Charlie Bhai, what is it then? You fall in love with Baba? Can you fall out of love with Baba?
Yep.
Because of? You fall out of love because of?
The 5 vices. That's simple. Once I asked Daddy Janki, Daddy, why do people leave Baba? She said the 5 vices. Because you think at the end of the cycle, each one of us on this session have practiced the 5 vices for 63 births. All of us, maybe to different levels. How deep are the 5 vices in all of us? And my experience is the initial vices that are a bit challenging, especially when you're young, is definitely lust and attachment. But the long-term challenge is ego. After a while, I think, I know best, I'm right. Why are people like this? I know what I need to do. I don't listen. I sort of think I know everything. And really, I think the genuine yogi will always be learning. It's literally the 5 vices are the things that come back. And I feel, because I've known many of Baba's children who come to Baba and then leave Baba and then come back again. And really, I think very few lose love for Baba, but they lose hope in themselves. That's the real reason we leave. Because it's just sometimes impurity comes back again and again and again, and it just chips away at my self-respect. And it can sometimes get so low. And it's a very high destination at this time in the cycle, not just to follow celibacy, but to really be pure. And real purity is to be with one. That's the ultimate state. And have no needs, any human needs. That's the ultimate destination. We're all on the journey, we're all working towards that. But that's the ultimate destination. And sometimes, the soul, the old sanskara, I get attracted to a temporary relationship. The main reason people leave, they're looking for love. Why do they look for love after they found Baba? Because they couldn't really taste the love from Baba. They believed it, I believe Baba's the ocean of love. I even teach other people. But I don't really become a bodiless soul and taste it, feel it, experience it. That's the quest. And really, in a sense, unless I become a bodiless soul, I can't really have that living relationship. If I'm semi-body conscious, I more believe in Shiv Baba than really connect.
Actually, there's a question that is sort of going towards that. Actually, people have impure love for one another, basically to achieve joy, happiness, bliss, etc. In our meditation, we want to experience the joy, happiness, and bliss too with Baba. Would you say that the end result is the same, but the method or journey, connection, the consciousness is wrong and have led to downfall instead of upliftment? This could also be an obstacle for us to experience Baba deeply.
Yeah, because our habit of 63 births is to experience relationship through the sense organs. We see people, we talk to them, we listen to them, we touch them, whatever. You know, and now I have to learn how to have a relationship beyond the sense organs. And it's a complete, you know, human relationships, you know, Baba tells us every day just brings so much sorrow. I would say scratch any human being and under the surface there's so much pain and anger and hurt in the heart because of the way their families treated them, the way what people have done to them. Virtually, I would say the majority of human beings today. Because body conscious relationships is all temporary. And people yearn for love, and so they connect with somebody. And it may be good for a little while, but then as they get to know the person more deeply, it goes the other direction. And so that initial phase is attraction and it becomes repulsion. And that happens so much today. And then they feel a failure in relationship. Human relationships can't give anywhere near the joy or happiness that Shiv Baba can give because it's permanent. Baba is permanent. But because we're addicted to the old way, and I sometimes used to give an example. I once heard about a scientist doing an experiment, and he had a fish tank with a little fish, and he would swim around the whole tank. And his food was up one end, so he'd go to get his food up one end of the tank. He then put a glass wall in the middle of the tank. And so the little fish kept swimming to get his food, and every time he'd bang his nose on the glass. And after a while, he realized he's not going to get there, so he just swam in half the tank. And then the scientist took out the glass. The food is 6 inches away, but the little fish just kept swimming in a circle and died. And it's a bit like us, you know, we've been so used to swimming in the circle of human love, you know, and Baba's so close, but my sanskaras of, you know, love through the sense organs in a way of human love is so deep. They are the things that block me from divine love and pure love to go and get the food at the end of the tank. And that's where I really have to think deeply about who is Baba? Make Shiv Baba come totally alive, his personality. He speaks to us in the morning, really bring Baba alive. Understand that there is really no soul in the world as attractive. If you lined up 7.9 billion souls, Baba is the most likable, lovable, attractive. And when I fall in love, it all begins to happen naturally. And that's the quest, to really fall in love.
Okay, I think we are coming to the last 4 minutes. If anybody has any burning question, you please put in the chat. And right now, just Brother Charlie, can you give an overview of the Brahmin world in the present time? What's happening?
An overview of the Brahman world.
Yeah.
Well, my experience is that we are really beginning to realize time is short. This is the only time to create my fortune. I think Brahmins are really focusing more on Baba and on their spiritual practice, and really prioritizing what's really important in this life. Because I think service is great, but we've got caught up in service and position and roles and your role and my role, and I think this and you think that. You know, we've all been there, done that. I think we're over it. It's now really aspiring to Shiv Baba. But I do feel this morning's Murli was really insightful about gossip, because Baba was saying that, you know, in newspapers, they tell wrong stories. They just make up stories. And really, there's so much misinformation in this world. And some Brahmins get on social media, read it, and are influenced by, I would say, the Tamo Pradhan intellect. The Tamo Pradhan intellect creates all this distortion and stories. There's endless stories about COVID, about vaccines, about this and about that. I wouldn't get caught in them in any way, because all this is distraction, and it's all false. It's falsehood dressed up as truth. And I remember one brother in London, he's a diamond merchant. He was telling me that these days they make false diamonds so good that the experts can't tell the difference. And I think that's a good metaphor for life today. There's so much falsehood, which looks so good. And even Brahmins get a bit influenced by the opinions floating around the world about health and about vaccines and about COVID and about so many things. And I think be simple, focus on Baba. Don't get caught in all this opinion stuff. There's a zillion opinions out there. I would really be simple and really use this time to serve through spirituality now. Elevated consciousness, elevated attitude. And if you have any relationships that are not working well, just get over it. I would do it that simple. Just, what did Baba say in the blessing, I think this morning, you know, just like everybody, just, even if someone opposes you, think they're supporting you, you know, just the habit to like and dislike, accept and reject. This one's good, this one's bad. That's body conscious stuff. We're all different. We're all number-wise, that's true. Just observe it in that way rather than get influenced by all the personalities around me. Otherwise, that's another distraction from a relationship with one.
Right. I think we reached on the dot of 7 o'clock here. And sorry, we have no more time for questions. Thank you so much, Brother Charlie. I think everybody is really enriched with all that sharings. Thank you very much. And I'll pass you back to the MC.
Thank you, Helen. Nice to see you.
Brother Charlie, for being with us at this time and sharing none but one. And I think this has been a very deep session for us. We could continue on, but due to time constraint in that way, maybe we have further sessions the next time. Yes, and I think on behalf of everyone, maybe everyone could have their camera on and we just wave to Brother Charlie. And maybe he can spend a few minutes of drishti before we go on to meditation until 7:30. Yeah.
Wonderful. It's great to see everybody. Thank you for having me, everyone. It's wonderful. Thanks. So let's finish with a little bit of meditation.
soul.